Hello, and welcome to Part 5 of the Enrollment Reporting webinar series, After the Enrollment File is Processed. In this presentation, we will review what happens after an enrollment file is processed. Then we will review the Reject Detail Report, including common rejected record error codes, specifically the errors 253 and 290. Then we will review EDI rejected records for our EDI participating institutions, and then we'll close with some best practices. So what happens after an enrollment file is processed? An email confirming that the file has been processed is sent to the submission data contacts at your institution. A reject detail report may be generated and will need to be reviewed. Data is loaded into the clearinghouse database and becomes available to be sent to lenders, servicers, and guarantors, as well as the NSLDS for compliance reporting. The data is also available on the clearinghouse website via the Student Lookup tab and for students that attend our student self-service institutions. Here we have a sample of the auto-generated email that will be sent to the submission data contacts at your institution. These emails not only inform you that the file has been processed, but also advise you to log into the clearinghouse website to review the file's Reject Detail Report. There are step-by-step instructions to navigate to the report, as well as some common error codes that may appear on the report that will need to be corrected. The Reject Detail Report is a list of students that were not able to be accepted onto the file due to a discrepancy or error on their record that prevented us from bringing them onto the file and into our database. What is uncommon, there are various reasons a student's record would not be accepted onto a file. We'll review a couple of these reasons later in this presentation. After every file is processed, the details of the processed files and the Reject Report can be accessed on the Clearinghouse website. We would recommend checking the file details after every enrollment file is processed. Records on the Reject Detail Report should be reviewed and corrected as needed as soon as possible after the enrollment file is processed. Typically, when a record is rejected, the record will need to be corrected in your student information system and manually updated in our database to reflect the correct data. There are occasions when the error will self-resolve the next time the file is submitted. Please keep in mind that we recommend only working the most recently generated Reject Detail Report. Previously rejected records may have since been resolved, and making additional updates or changes may not be necessary. Before we move on to the Reject Detail Report, I just want to take this time to mention a reminder about online updates. No matter the reason for the online update, there may be times when the updates cannot be submitted or processed because a file is in-house. When you pull up a student's record to update while a file is in-house, you may encounter an alert box like the one pictured here. The alert advises you to reach out to the clearinghouse for assistance. The analyst assigned to your files will not be able to perform the update on your behalf, so please avoid sending the information to them that needs to be updated. Instead, feel free to reach out to check on the status of the file. We often find that an error report is posted to the web for the school to review, and we're not able to process the file until all errors are reviewed and corrected or confirmed. To access your Reject Detail Report, you will log on to our secure website and click on the Student Reporting tab. Click on the Enrollment Reporting link, ensure that the correct OPE ID is populated to search for the correct transmission history. Once you've clicked on the Transmission History tab for your institution, you will have a list of all enrollment files that have been processed by the clearinghouse and a link to the details regarding your recently processed enrollment file. Click on that link and it will pull the school transmission detail for your institution. You'll notice that there are three tabs. The Detail tab will show a breakdown of the file information, such as the term dates and record counts. The Reject Detail School Review tab will show you the specific error a student is being rejected for and is required to fix. The Reject Detail All Records, which will show you the same main error, but will show you other warning codes that are not required to be fixed. This is why we typically recommend just reviewing the School Review tab. However, you will find records on this tab that were rejected due to SSN or College Student ID errors that are not found on the School Review tab. The common error numbers for these records is 30, 211, and 212, so we would recommend reviewing the All Records tab for those records. Here we have a sample of what the Reject Detail School Review tab looks like. As you can see, there's an Export Results button. We would recommend exporting the list to use as a reference when conducting research, making changes in your student information system, and performing manual corrections on the Clearinghouse website under the Student Lookup tab. For your reference, at the bottom of these tabs is a link to the error code explanations. Two of the most common errors on the Reject Detail report are errors 253 and 290. These errors occur as a result of the name and Social Security number conflict from the data present on the file versus information we already have loaded in our database. A 253 occurs the first time a student is rejected as a result of this conflict, and a 290 is when they have been rejected 2 or more times. Specifically, what happens is a Social Security number that is being presented on your enrollment file is already attached to a student in our database that we are not able to identify as being the same person present on your enrollment file. As Social Security numbers are unique to each person, we cannot allow the conflicting records into our database, and so they are rejected from the file. The responsibility of correcting this error falls to your institution because your incoming student is currently enrolled and active at your institution, while the previously reported student that was successfully already in our database could have been reported many years ago, and confirming the information with the previous student could prove to be very difficult to accomplish for their institution. When you see that a student has been rejected with a 253 or 290, you'll want to confirm that the Social Security number present on the student's record does in fact belong to the student. Typically, the error is a result of a typographical error such as a mistyped digit or a form being filled out incorrectly. We ask that you confirm the Social Security number using one of our acceptable forms of proof of SSN seen here. You can request a copy of the list of acceptable proof of SSN by emailing schoolops@studentclearinghouse.org. The best place to begin researching the Social Security number is typically with the Financial Aid Department, as they may have a copy of one of these documents on hand already. If your institution does not have any of these documents, you would then want to reach out to the student to see if they will provide you with this proof. We are aware that you cannot require a student provide you with the proof of their SSN, so it's up to the student if they want to provide the information or not. We would recommend maintaining any documentation of your outreach and their response, just in case it's needed in the future. If you are unable to obtain adequate proof of Social Security number, the student will continue to be rejected from your files. You'll want to advise the student that without confirmation, we will not be able to load their record into our database and in turn, unable to utilize any services that we provide, such as student self-service or reporting their enrollment to their lender. You do not have to provide the proof of SSN to us unless a further conflict is found. At that time, an analyst will reach out to you to request a copy of that proof be sent to us via our secure fax line. We recommend holding onto a copy of that proof until you see that we have processed the online update into our database. Once you have confirmed the correct Social Security number for the student, you'll want to first ensure the correct Social Security number has been updated in your student information system. Next, the correct Social Security number will need to be provided to the clearinghouse. This is done with an individual manual online update. Sending the Social Security number on the file again does not tell us that the research has been done to confirm the Social Security number. To add the student's record, go to the Student Lookup tab on the secure website, type in the correct Social Security number for the record that is being rejected, and click Search. You should have a message pop up that advises that no record is found, and once you search for the student, you should be prompted to add the record as a new student. From there, you'll need to enter the student's enrollment information. All fields with an asterisk are required. If you did not know the student's address, please enter UK. This translates to unknown. Please note, when you're adding a new student and the student has been enrolled for multiple terms, please enter the enrollment information for the first term the student should have been reported as enrolled. In this example, the student is currently enrolled, but should have been reported since January 2010. Please be sure to include program level data if the student is in a program. If the student entered and left a program before July 1st of 2014, then you do not need to provide program level information for that specific program. Once we have received your request to add the student, a clearinghouse analyst will review the request. We ask for you to provide the oldest set of enrollment information for the student so that we can manually rebuild their enrollment record for you. As mentioned before, if needed, the analyst may request to see the proof of the student's SSN in order to proceed with adding the record. The student's record may need to be updated directly with NSLDS as well. Please have someone with access to the NSLDS website confirm that the student's history is correct in the NSLDS database and is updated as needed. Not all schools use the same software vendor for enrollment reporting. The next few slides are specifically for those that use EDI mapping software, most commonly Banner, but also some iterations of Genzabar. If you do not use EDI mapping software, please be patient and sit tight as we'll cover some best practices after these two slides. Each student has an EDI map for their record, and it must meet certain requirements in order for the record to be accepted on an enrollment file. Records rejected due to missing or invalid data within the EDI record are placed in your institution's FTP account for review after your enrollment file is uploaded. Please note an enhancement was made to our EDI intake process in July of 2018 to map select errors resulting in records being posted for review on your error resolution report instead of being rejected from your enrollment file and being placed in your institution's FTP. I will go into more detail on the EDI file intake enhancement on the next slide. It is imperative to update the missing required data in your student information system for future reporting if you find that the EDI rejects are students that should be reported. Keep in mind, EDI rejects are not the same as students on your reject detail report. Students on your reject detail were included with all required data in the EDI mapping record, but were rejected from the file for other reasons. For example, a name conflict as mentioned in previous slides. Records appearing on the EDI reject list in your institution's FTP account are records that are failed during the file translation from EDI format to the clearinghouse format. In some cases, the analyst assigned to your file may reach out letting you know why the students are being rejected during the file setup process. In response to requests from many institutions that submit enrollment data in EDI format, the Clearinghouse enhanced its EDI intake process to map select errors, which were previously rejected from enrollment files and are now posted for correction to the Error Resolution Report for review and correction. As a result of this change, you may have noticed the total records loaded are higher than in previous submissions, and you may have more or different error and warnings on your Error Resolution Report. This allows for you to resolve most EDI submission errors in the same way you process other enrollment file errors and warnings. The EDI enhancement mapped the most common errors that would result in EDI rejects, but it's still possible to have some rejected records remaining on your EDI file, and those would still be placed in your school's FTP account. Some of the most common errors you may see on the Error Resolution Report as a result of the EDI enhancement is Error 4, which is a missing enrollment status, or Error 6 or 213, missing anticipated graduation date. All records on the Error Resolution Report should be reviewed to determine if corrections are necessary. If a student is currently enrolled or has stopped attending your institution but has not had a G or W reported to close out their record, those should be corrected on the error report. On the other hand, you have reviewed the records and they are old records, for example, and may email the analyst assigned to your file to request that the records be rejected from your submission before processing. If unnecessary records are being included on your file, please work with your IT team or software vendor for assistance on how to omit these records from the future transmissions. Based on what we've covered today, here are some reporting best practices. Submit on time and in sync with your submission schedule and file type. Identify and ensure students that should be reported are on enrollment files with the accurate Social Security number and enrollment data. Save and process your error resolution on the web report in a timely manner. Review the Reject Detail report, and if applicable, EDI Rejected Record lists and submit corrections as needed. Update your student information system with any corrections you make to avoid future errors and warnings. You can contact School Ops at studentclearinghouse.org or at 703-742-4880 with any questions related to enrollment reporting. This concludes Part 5 of the Enrollment Reporting webinar series. Thank you for taking the time to watch this presentation.